everybody, Demonic Orchard here, bringing you another 2,500 point battle report. This time, my demons are taking on some Tomb Kings. So, yeah, it should be a really good match. Round 2 of Wargamers Con. So, let's get into the scenario. It's going Batty. So, what we get is 2 points for holding the bridge in the center, and we get 2 points for killing the bat swarm that comes from the center. How that worked for this is we rolled a d3 at the start of the game, and whatever that d3 said is the turn that the swarms would start showing up, and then they randomly move from the bridge, and they give you -1 weapon skill. They make you you lose ASF, and you have -1 movement. So basically, every buff I gave to my demonettes, I would completely lose if the bat swarm hit me. So I was not a fan of this. You could kill the bat swarm if you basically touched it for a turn. But if you do, at the end of the turn, you take D3 plus 3 wounds. So not really a big deal when you have 53 demonettes in a unit. Because, I mean, what's 6 guys, right? So his list, we had open lists at the GT, and he had like a laminated copy, kind of like 2 laminated copies, and he was kind of handing it to people and kind of getting them back type of deal. It was really cool looking. It went with the theme of his army, and I handed him my list, and he's like, here you go, man. Did you want to keep a copy? Because he knew what I was doing, and he's like, I think I can get you something. I'm like, man, it really wasn't that big of a deal. It's an Arcan. It's an Arcan, the blacklist. Archon, Arkham. You know what I'm talking about. It's a blacklist. It's got chariots, and he's got a big sphinx, and he's got the scorpion snake rider guys, and he's got a badass caster who's a level 5. So, yeah, I mean, if you played one of these lists, you played them all, right? So his deployment, and I forgot to get it in on the picture because why would I take a picture of a bone giant? But on the far left of what we're looking at, his right flank, he had a bone giant sitting over there. He then had his unit of chariots. He had his catapult. He had a huge unit of archers. He had the casket of skulls. He had a unit of the snake rider guys with poison attacks and whatever. And he had that big sphinx. And when we started playing, I'm like, oh, that thing's bad. And he was like, I don't know why everybody's afraid of it. It never works. I'm like, well, that one time the heroic killing blow hits. And he's like, yeah, let me know when that ever happens. So, yeah, I still was scared of it. I don't care. And the guy sitting in dead center of it is Arkham. I'm just going to call him Mr. Black from now on because I have a feeling I'm butchering that name completely. And in the center, you'll see that's the bridge, and then that circle template is the bat swarm as it comes out. So, pretty cool. Here is deployment for my side, and on my left flank, the far left flank there, you'll see 1 cannon. Then you see some plague drones. Then I have my unit of demonettes with my BSB, and there's Arkan. I put a little arrow to him so you can see him. There's my Herald, and for this, I think I gave him +2 strength. That's what he ended up with. And then I have my other cannon. I have my Blood Crushers. I have my Greater Demon, and I gave him the Eternal Blade for this one. And I can't remember the lesser gift. I'm sorry. It doesn't come into play in this game at all, so I don't remember if it was good or not. Then you have a unit of the Beast of Nurgle, and that glass right there is the glass to get $2 beers at Wargamers Con. So I mean, beer helps in every game, right? So here is my thoughts for deployment. As you look at the butts of my Blood Crushers, all I really care about is getting to that caster as fast as possible. And I'm going to attempt to do this. I'm pretty much going to try to block off the chariots and all those other guys, and I just want to kill his caster. I just want to kill Mr. Black. Mr. Pink wants to kill Mr. Black. That's the way this is going to work. And that's the only way it's going to work. Because I'm awesome. At least I tell myself that every day. So here is turn 1. I got to go first, and you'll see that I have my Reign of Chaos table up because Yeah, I don't have it memorized. I move my cannons all up. I then move my plague drones over the forest, and I think that my plague drones at this point, excuse me, my plague drones at this point are about 10 inches away from his chariots and his bone giant, and I was thinking, he can't make both of those charges. He's got to fail one, right? He has to. I ran my demonettes up as fast as possible, the full 14 inches. I knew I was going to take a magic phase or two in the face. I was like, man, those chariots are probably going to charge me too. This is going to suck, but whatever. I have to get in. I have to get into combat. I moved my cannon up. I moved my blood crushers, and I moved my beast and Urgle up. And my whole thought was, I'm going to shoot one time at the catapult, and I'm going to shoot one time at the bone giant. One shot, one kill on each of them, and life will be really good for me. You'll see how that works out. So my magic phase goes off, and I roll like a 6, I think. Anyway, I ended up putting 5 wounds on his snake eyes, which was epic for me because whenever your pre-magic phase can do a little damage to somebody with as much magic potential as he's got, I was all about it. I then casted Acquiescence on his Sphinx. I just want that thing staying in a corner. I'm putting Baby in a corner, basically. Baby will sit her butt in the corner and wait for somebody to come get her. And that's how this is going to play out as far as I'm concerned. And then I did something, and I don't know what I was thinking exactly. I was just like, this would be really cool if it works. So I cast Hysterical Frenzy on his unit of archers. He doesn't have a BSB in his unit. And I'm thinking, I cast Hysterical Frenzy on Arkham, or Mr. Black. And if Mr. Black fails his frenzy check, Mr. Black's going to have to charge me. And my demonettes are close enough that he will have to actually do this. So, yeah, I mean, whatever. We'll see what happens. But that was my thought. I was grabbing at straws. I have a buddy here in the area that plays Tomb Kings, and he's busted this character out on me before, and it's just gross. It's just bad, especially when they're sitting on death magic. It's just bad. I don't think he was on death, so it's just bad. And we go to his turn, and this is actually the top of his turn because my shooting was a complete. My shooting actually worked out. I forgot to take a picture, but it took both my cannon shots to blow up his casket. So I couldn't shoot at the bone giant, which of course is going to probably bite me in the butt. But that is his roll for Hysterical Frenzy. He fails his frenzy check. And he looks up at me. He's like, so what does this mean again? And I'm like, you have to charge me, man. And he's like, are you freaking kidding me? He's like, when does this happen? And at this point, we're going to have a Tomb King army that's supposed to sit there, run across the table. Because my demonettes were like 9 inches away from him. Is that what they are? 14? Yeah, about 8, 9 inches away from him. And this is what the board looks like after movement. He pretty much keeps his Snake Riders back, and he runs forward, and he actually hits my demonette unit with his Archon with Archon's unit, and his chariots, of course, made the charge, and of course his Bone Giant makes the charge. So those 3 units come forward, and everything else kind of sits put, and the Sphinx has to just twiddle his thumbs because that's what the Sphinx has to do. We go into his magic phase, and he rolled nothing for magic, not much, but he threw Doom and Darkness on my cannon, and I knew what was probably going to come next, but he ended up not being able to cast the leadership spell from the casket. He ended up failing casting it, which, I'm not going to complain about that. And then he throws a little Soul Blight on my Plague Drones, so their high toughness is going to get negated, and they're just easier to wound by all those impact hits from the chariots. So I wasn't a huge fan of that at all. And we go into combat, and you'll see that after attacks, damage, combat res, and crumbling, Archon is the last thing standing. That's all he's got left is Archon. So I was pretty pleased with the way this whole thing played out. Whenever you can delete 30 archers, You're not going to complain ever. So there's just Archon, and I know that on my turn I'll be able to basically finish him off, or at least I should be able to, just with combat res alone, because with 3 ranks, banner, BSB, I should be in pretty good shape. And then we go into combat over on the left flank. You'll see his giant and the chariots, and I apologize for the blurry picture. I'm not very hopeful that the Plague Drones are going to be able to hold up against him. I'm pretty sure that I'm basically going to get just wrecked. And as you see, after combat res, after combat, he kills 2 outright. I roll for it, and there's a better picture. I roll for it, and I'm going to lose. Losing this guy. And with the overrun, his giant comes into my cannon, and he reforms the chariots to face my demonettes. And I definitely know that I need to kill Archon on my turn, because I do not want to take chariots to the freaking face. So this is also a picture of where things are at after movement. I think I forgot to take a picture after I moved my demonettes a little bit. I kind of faced his guys slightly, but I charged in to his snake guys with a cannon, and I charged in with my blood crushers, and then I moved my beast of Nurgle up just to kind of block him, and then I moved my keeper all the way around the side, and I had him face the Casket of Souls, because I was just going to try to cacophonic the casket out. So that was the master plan there. And into combat, excuse me, and he kills and just destroys my cannon, because his giant just, I whiffed. I mean, like, I whiffed so hard that somebody, I think he got a cold. I think my opponent got pneumonia on this match from my whiffage. But I definitely did not whiff with the Blood Crushers. They were victorious. They rule all. It was great. I loved it. I mean, I really didn't love it, but it was good. I liked it. Right? I'm not going to complain. And you'll see here that Archon the Black is no more. So I do get to reform and not get just punked chariots. So I reform them, and this is what the board looks like after his turn. He charges his Bone Giant in, charges the chariots in, and you know where this is going. I mean, like, everything's basically here now. So even he was like, you know, it is what it is. I'm throwing it all out there. And I'm like, dude, you got to. And you blow up the unit, you know, it'll be good. So, and then he gets his Sphinx into my Beast of Nurgle. During combat, I end up putting, you know, a couple more wounds on the chariots. You can see here that he, you know, went to work on my demonettes. And then I turned on that side rank right there, and I attacked his Bone Giant. You see his Bone Giant has 4 wounds already on him. I think it's from other combats from the chariot and whatnot, but I could never take it down. And my one demonette on the side, one lone attack is all it took. And she punks him. And there she is, victoriously standing over her kill. What? But just as I kill a Bone Giant, oh, my poor BSB eats it. He just so sad. Just sad. But I got over it. And here's a blurry picture of craziness after combat resolution over on that side and whatnot. His big Sphinx couldn't do anything to my Beast of Nurgle, and I could do nothing to him. So basically, yeah, we just stood there in each other's faces. So during my phase, I told him, you can see where my chariot's at, and you can see the one there. And I said, I'm going to charge your guys with my cannon or my chariot. And he's like, you got to take difficult terrain. I go, yeah, whatever. It's all good. He goes, you're going to fail it. I'm like, what a dick. So what do? I fail it. And then what happens when you fail a chariot? Your chariot takes wounds. That's right. The tree killed my stupid chariot cannon thingy-majigger from Korn. How ridiculous is that? how is it supposed to kill stuff if I can't get into combat because I failed difficult terrain? And as you can see, my demonette lost her head over it. So yeah, doubly PO'd over this whole ordeal. But we go into magic, and I roll the magic number 12. You know what? I am a gangster. I'm a dice rolling gangster. My first match, I roll Snake Eyes 3 times, and now I get to box cards in my magic phase when I don't really freaking need it. But whatever, I'll take it. So I end up throwing up a bunch of demonettes. At this point, the game was kind of in my favor, and you know what? Even though this tournament structure definitely favors you completely annihilating your opponent because you're going for 20s, you're trying to get 20 points every time. I'm still in the mindset of score, don't spike. There's no reason to rub it in the dude's face. I mean, I got a lucky hysterical frenzy off, and it just blew up his whole plans. So I threw him off to the side. Demonettes, if I needed them, I was going to charge into the side of his chariots, but I really didn't think I'd use it. So with all that dice, I end up cacophonicking his Casket of Souls, and I did like 10. I got 10 hits on it. I ended up doing like 7 wounds to it, and when everything's said and done, the casket gets popped off, and at this point, he kind of was like, ugh, this sucks. And I'm like, dude, bro, I'm sorry, man. Beer time. But he was a really cool guy. I mean, really nice dude. He was just like, I've never seen this wonkiness before. And I'm like, yeah, me either. So I definitely got the casket off, which was good for me. And my blood crushers ended up charging when I did my declarations, when I did my charges as well. And I popped his chariots. So when they popped, all he had left after magic and close combat was the Sphinx, and we decided that that was the end of things. So we called it, and that's kind of what the map looked like right there. I think he won combat res on the Beast and Urgo by 1. And I ended up taking I rolled like a 7 and took a wound. But overall, a really good game, really fun opponent. Had a really great time playing the list. It sucked that the match was so fast, but if you're keeping track of... So I get the victory for this. So it was a 20-0 for this round, which is really good for me. And after 2 rounds, I have 33 points. I'm pretty proud of the way things are working out. I am kind of nervous about who will be up next. Wargamers Con, I think there were about 40-something guys that showed up. I want to say it was 40-something. And it was a pretty hard room. So winning always makes you feel great, but when you win, you play other people that win by a lot. And my demon list has matchups I'm not looking forward to playing. There was a Banner of the World Dragon High Elf list running around, and just to give you guys the gaming group I am, Dreadmoon, when we went out there, one of the guys said, you know what I'm going to bring? He usually plays Chaos Dwarfs, and he said, you know what? Every time I go somewhere, there's always a couple Chaos Dwarf players. I'm going to bring my Ogres. Nobody plays Ogres. At this tournament, there were like 6 Demon players and 6 Ogre players. It was absolutely crazy, and I think there were only 2 High Elf players. But my list does not do well against Ogres, and I don't do well against High Elves. So I'm hoping that I can dodge an Ogre player and High Elves for the rest of the tournament, and then I figure I'll have a sporting shot. But thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you on the next one.